Record. All right. Hello, everyone. We are back for another issue of Fanoos Magazine at fanoosmagazine.com. This month's issue is all about writing about our dance and our art form. And I have with us here our cover story for this month, which is the wonderful author, Alia Thabit. And I have a copy of your book, Midnight at the Crossroads, here. And I have to say, I enjoy everything that you write because I love your writing style and the voice in your work so much. So I am thrilled to have you with us.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so honored and flattered too. It's very exciting.
Well, it is all true. And you've been writing for quite some time. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into writing about dance and your dance itself. You've also been a dancer for a long, long time.
This is year 50. Wait, one, two, three, four, five. This is year 50 for dance. I started dancing when I was 16. And I've been writing, well, I guess I danced like casually, not belly dance. I started learning belly dance when I was 16, which you know because you read the book. But I was writing before that, and I actually won an award in junior high school for a play that I wrote, which was, basically my brother's blowing things up. But and I didn't realize until later that like that was actually a very cool award because I was in junior high school in Brooklyn, New York, and it was a citywide contest, and I won an honorable mention as a junior high schooler in an enormous city. And one of the other gals in our school won like a real, I don't remember where she placed, but she won like a real award, not just honorable mention. And I actually have that. I should dig that out. I should put that on the wall in my office because it's kind of groovy. Because oh my God, now I'm gonna blank on his name. Um, I'll look it up and I'll tell you, but it was like a really like a surprisingly well-known writer was the one who signed that for me. Signed it for me, didn't sign it for me, but had his name was signed on the, yeah, you actually wrote something that we kind of liked piece of paper. So yeah, kind of, and I read a lot of books, and I've always read a lot of books. And I still read a lot of books. After college, I couldn't read books for fun for a while. There were several years in there where I couldn't really read books for fun. And then in 2013, I started caring for my mom. She had dementia. And it was during that time that I wrote Midnight at the Crossroads. And it was also during that time, but after midnight, that I started reading again because I discovered the library on my phone.
I completely understand. Yes.
And if you had told me 10 minutes before I started doing that, you would really enjoy reading books on your phone, I'd be like, no, what a terrible thing. But I read incessantly on my phone, and I just read fantasy adventure novels. Like 97% of what I read is fantasy adventure novels because I'm still not reading nonfiction all that well. But I like that my book, even though it's nonfiction, is actually kind of like chatty and conversational and fun to read. Someone said, somebody who was just like commenting about it said, I opened this book and I thought I was going to get a stern talking to, and instead I had this like pleasant conversation with a fun person. Yes.
I would agree with that. The tone and the voice that comes through when you're writing, um, like this is a pretty serious subject. If those of you out there have not read this book, it's Midnight at the Crossroads. Has belly dance sold its soul? And I would say that the main concept is the conversations that we've all had to have with ourselves about appropriation and where the source of the dance is and what our intention is behind it and where we're moving forward. But yeah, the voice that comes through in this writing is like you're sitting at a cafe having a conversation with you, I have to say. So how did you get all of this information together? You tackled so many topics and ideas and thoughts and different opinions even in this book that I can't even say, like, it's not scolding and it's not even just here's my answer to this. How did you organize all of this material into one volume?
It took a while. And I started out, man, I'm not going to be able to remember anybody's name. Oh, I started, I was and am part of a group run by Shonda Souza, who teaches marketing, 5000 BC. And um, Sean is really into writing. I'm really into writing. I teach writing. I mean, that was my day job for quite a long time. I teach writing at the college level as a part-time instructor. And my degree, my college degree, was in writing, in fiction, creative writing. So, because it was the degree with the least required classes in the book. So anyway, that particular year, one of the other members, and I'm really pissed that I can't remember his name. His first name is Paul, and I'm mad that I can't remember his last name, because he organized this, little challenge, this writing challenge in February of 2013, 2014. It was probably 2014. And I started writing the book. And basically I just started writing about, how things were better in the old days. So we were improvising, we were this and we were that. And then, and finally the thought came to me, it's like, you can't just tell people how it was better in the old days, because who the hell cares? You're going to have to show why it was better and what benefit there is to those things. So that was kind of like the next chunk of it. And, I kept writing, and there were periods, like years long, where did not write that book, because it did not get finally into print until the end of 2017. I started caring for my mother. Well, I really started caring for her in like 2011 and 2012, and I was tag teaming with my brother until the fall of 2013, when he couldn't anymore and she came to live with me at my house, which was not a real caregiver. And so sometime in there I started doing that project, and there were periods when I didn't know what I was going to do next, and I just didn't write. But little by little, this arc started to reveal itself to me. And I was learning all this stuff about, starting from really about that same time, starting from 2012, I was learning about somatic experiencing. And I was doing the dance meditation, Sufi-based work with Dunya. And all of those things, were, I was feeling all the connections of those things, and how well they went together, and all these similarities that those things had. So little by little, and I thought all these things that happened with the dance that, like, I'm kind of like being sniffy about here. And I really tried hard to take all the sniffiness out of the book. It's like, no, 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 let's not say it. No, no, let's take that out. Because I just wanted it to be like a love letter to the dance. In the end, that's what I decided it needed to be, a love letter to the dance, a big long one. And that the things that people did in general that annoyed me, they did not know. And like, how would they know? How would they find out? I went to college in my 30s. And one of the things that really struck me, I was like I had about 4 part-time jobs, and I was a single parent for the end of that period of time. Like, my relationship ended during college, and then I'm a single parent of 2 people, and I have 4 part-time jobs, and I'm like trying desperately, like, and and somebody was sitting around playing the guitar. It's like, I want to play the guitar. I mean, I don't want to play the guitar, but I want to sit around and like have a drink and talk about the things, talk like what you're supposed to do at college. You're supposed to drink wine and talk about existential things. And I'm like, get to the next job. So I really made it a thing to have more time, which meant I didn't have money, but one or the other. So I had more time. And because I did that, and I started teaching dance actually because I was taking food out of my children's mouth to pay for dance classes because you didn't have any money. So I started teaching dance partly just because I couldn't make myself practice, and to have money to pay for the things that I wanted to do. And that actually kind of worked out for quite a long time. But because of that, I had a pretty good education. I mean, I had a pretty good education to start with because I was lucky and ended up in Ibrahim Fada's classes. Mm-hmm. So, my introduction to the dance was through someone from the culture who, really felt the music and understood those qualities. They might not always have been explicitly stated, but they were in there. And so there was that. And I had the benefit of New York at the time, which had all this beautiful live music. So there was the benefit of that I had those experiences that so many people just don't have the opportunity to have. And then as I was writing the book, I would write something down, and then I would have to say, is that true? It's just like, is that true? And I would have to think about that. And I would write something and I would have to think about it. And I would have to really, and like remember conversations that I had, like, oh my God, I'm going to just be so awful with names. But, the whole idea that the musicians never play the song the same way twice. I remember sitting with someone, we were talking about that. We were just like burst out laughing, and like, never play the song the same way twice. And that's a thing. And I had the opportunity to go to Simone Shaheen's Arabic music retreat like several times.
And I
Not
have to
everybody
say, for the
has these
younger
opportunities.
generation, no, I have to say for the younger generation that has not really gotten much chance to dance to live music, you do a really good job of illustrating it in here and putting words to that. And like you said, saying why it's different or what makes it different. And that's what really struck me, about it.
Yeah. Why it's different and why it's valuable. Not just that it's different, but that it's valuable, and there is something for you here. You're interested in this dance. And, I really think of this dance as like, a subversive sleeper cell,
I'm going to be thinking about that all night.
All this stuff is in there. It's in there. And it's like waiting for you to go, oh, what's that? How did it get in there? But it's always been in there. And the more you start, for myself, even writing the book changed me a lot because of the way that I had to think about things and really unpack things and dig into things. And because of that, I really became more engaged with the idea that this dance brings joy, and that's my job as a dancer, is to bring joy into people's lives. And that's kind of my job as a human being. It's like, who doesn't need more joy?
That is so poignant, especially now, I think, at the time that this is
Yes.
being recorded. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Going back to when you said you would write something down and then you'd have to think, is that true? And you'd have to kind of remember or dig things up or think about it. I know when I was writing my book, I would sometimes write things and think, oh, somebody's going to be mad at me, or oh, someone's not going to like that I put this into writing. Did you have anything like that, or doubts, or what we now call imposter syndrome, right? Of thinking, I'm going to write this book and it's going to be criticized.
Well, it was criticized, um, but that's okay. And I'm surprised that um, so I gave a draft to my daughter who had just gotten through her physical therapy, um, whatever, you're a doctor of physical therapy, but it's really like a master's. But anyway, she'd just gotten through this very rigorous program, and it's all, evidence-based, this and that. And she's like, you're just saying these things. There's no evidence for any of this. Where is your research? Where are your citations? And I'm thinking, how am I going to cite?
Yeah, it's life experience. It's not.
There isn't
Yeah.
anything. So I
Hmm.
talked to another friend of mine who's a PhD from Stanford, and she had recently completed her PhD program, and she said, oh, I hope I can remember the word. It was something like a complex schema. I can't remember, but there was a word for there was a phrase for what I was doing. And, so the the solution to that problem was to simply be sure to say, in my experience, or this is what I have heard from so and so, so and so, and so and so. And,
Mhm.
uh, and not, instead of this is the way it is, this is how I have experienced it. This is what people have told me. Dozens of people have told me this. So that helped. And I got flack for the cover because the nobody understands the cover. The person who gave me flack for it did, but basically nobody understands the cover because I'm referencing all the blues stuff, and Midnight at the
Ah,
Crossroads, and the devil, and the
cool.
contract, and
I
this,
got
you
it.
sell your soul. Yeah, and most people don't seem to get that.
I
um
knew immediately. Where are these people? I thought that was common knowledge.
why don't you put a belly dancer on the cover? um and oh geez, she's she's in the acknowledgments, but she's like, what did you do this for? Why do you have this? This is like, you're stereotyping this, and on, and her points were basically valid, and she helped me rewrite some of the sections that were like a little cringy in that context, and it's much stronger now because she
Hmm.
did that, and I'm very, very grateful. And however, I'd also point out that the devil on that cover is white.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that.
Mm.
Oh, wow. Now, yeah, now I'm really looking at it.
Because the problem in for the all of the blues culture, and the problem for the Black folks, and the problem for the dance is Europeans, colonizers and white people who are like, oh, nice dance, could you take off some more of your clothes? And that people are overlaying Western value systems on a dance that is the complete and total opposite. And that's why the book ended up being structured the way it was. This is how it is in the East.
Right.
This is the culture. This is the problem with culture clash, that people don't know these things. And so they take, like, the high choreography is high value in the West, and they put that on. And this being the Rockettes is high value in the West, not in the East, but it gets just layered on top of of a very well-developed ancient value system that already existed. But people don't know. So they just take what they know and plop it on top of belly dance. And, you know, to it's to everybody's loss.
Very well put. And yeah, I mean, you do all of your own illustrations. I've seen so many of your illustrations over the years for so many different things. And your book has over 40 illustrations in here. And I thought that was also kind of poignant because it's so holistically done that it's your writing, it's your experiences, and it's your drawings in here. So tell us a little bit about the illustration process. Did you do the illustrations first, or did you do it after you wrote them?
I some from both and I have to thank Sean D'Souza again, because I had this feeling that I needed to have art back in my life again, because you know I just had kind of lost touch with that over the years. And Sean offered a cartooning course, and he had, before he went into marketing, he was a professional cartoonist, and he, you know, all of his work is embellished with his own cartoons. So he had a cartooning course, and I took that course. And one of the things that we had to do in the course was create our own character. And Elby, who features in so many of those drawings, Elby was the character that I created, Elby and her cat Hub. So I actually have a whole book of Elby and Hub called The Cat Who Didn't Care.
Oh,
The whole cartoon book. So some of those I had drawn for previously and for other things, and some of them I drew and many of them for articles that I had written, because there was a point, you know, I do that 90-day dance party thing, and I've been started doing that in 2012, and it just was text originally. And then there was one year where I was like, I guess I have to put pictures in. So I would have to dig around the internet and find a picture every freaking day. It was awful. I'm so lazy. And so then after the cartooning course, I was like, oh yeah, I can draw cartoons. And I draw all of those, pretty much most things. Some of those things are drawn with pen and ink. The cover picture is pen and ink. And then I would tidy them up in Photoshop. But the vast majority of drawings in that book, I drew on my phone.
wow.
Yes, that's right.
I would have never guessed.
This is a Samsung. This one is a Note 8. It has a little stylus that comes with it. The one that I had when I did most of that was a Note 3, and Sketchbook for Galaxy, which is a free app. So yeah, almost all of that stuff I drew on my phone. I would like to do more pen and ink stuff, but again, the phone is always there.
That is a really good point, and I would have never guessed that because I mean, so my college degree is in art, and it all has that pen and ink kind of sketchy sort of quality to it. So to know that you were able to achieve that on your phone, I think would take some of the anxiety out for a lot of people too, that you don't necessarily need fancy equipment. Your phone's always with you, and
Yes.
there's ways to get to do these things.
Well, a
Wow.
note, buy a used note, because the new ones are pricey.
Well,
But it's true. And and Sean, that's the way that Sean taught us. He said, you know, use broken lines, use lines that are thick and thin, you know, make there be space in things. And it is a marvelous class. I mean, if anybody is interested in that, it's a marvelous class. So that, and you know, the most recent one, which was during COVID, I couldn't even handle enough meaning to make cartoons, you know. So that's when I started doing those color drawings, and I just draw a squiggle in one color, and then I pick colors that go with it and I color it in.
hey, it's art. That's art. The
You
process.
know, find little relationships and draw in the eyes and stuff, and then it becomes, something happens, but it's very organic, it evolves.
So I feel like most people, when they do anything, especially when they start trying to write or they're thinking, I've had so many people come up to me and say, I want to put my memoirs down, or you inspired me to write something. But they're afraid of critique, they're afraid of getting started. So, we talked about that a little bit, some of the backlash that you got about picking it apart and things. But I also feel like you've received a mountain of excellent feedback and
Hmm.
acclaim for this. So let's talk about the positives of it. Yeah, you're going to have people that say little things to you, but tell us some of the things that came out of people reading the book that were amazing.
Generally speaking, it's been very, very well received. Um, very, very well received. Um, there's like sometimes there'll be a conversation about, what is the dance and what isn't the dance, and I'll like pop in I have like I made it into a little one sheet. I'll send it to you. You can include it if you want. And like as far as to, again, in my experience, to me, these are the important things. The movement vocabulary, the idea of micro movement, the music itself, because they go together. The feeling, the idea of the feeling, and the idea that the feeling is both the like emotional feeling that you get, but also the feeling of your body, the physical feeling of your body making those beautiful movements that are so nice for the body to make. And these are the things. And like, do you need to do all of them at once? No, but the more of them you're doing, the closer you are to like the what I have perceived, qualify it there too, what I have perceived as the cultural kind of core values of the dance. Can you dance to Peter Gunn? Of course you can. But the further away you get on this side or this side, the more you might want to include these other elements.
Absolutely. And I think this text especially, like I said, me being a younger dancer, like you hear a lot of people say, oh, back in the day or back in the old days or back when there was more live music.
Mm-hmm.
But even just the term micro movements, I have
Mm-hmm.
cited that so much in my own classes because now there was finally a word I could use to describe what I had seen or what I had experienced. And it's like a soluble term.
Yeah.
And that's why words are so important, really, even in
Yeah.
something that is a wordless expression like dance. And it relies so heavily on the music, but knowing what to call something or how to describe something becomes so important.
And it's nice because micro movement goes with microtones, those Arabic tones that aren't on the piano, which the musicians are like stretching and making a little sharper or a little flatter just because they feel like it.
Exactly.
And that's what we
Exactly.
do with the music, a little bigger, a little smaller, a little bit more of this, heavy here, light here, those
So
calligraphic lines.
you are Arab American as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that had any sort of influence on your writing, or does that seem to be something that stays in your personal life and is more for your dance?
My family did not dance, but I did start dancing very intentionally as a cultural, oh, this will be cultural and sexy. But that this would be cultural. And that was always an important piece of my interest, and that I was always seeking out because I wanted this to be a cultural expression for me. I had to know, and it took a long time before I even kind of matured enough to think about it that way. And that's why, I don't hold it against someone who, you know, belly dances to, um, I don't know, Laotian folk music, because I would have done that. And like, yeah, how cool of me to do this. I would have thought that was cool. So people I didn't know, people don't know, you learn better, you do better. And so that's kind of there wasn't that much information. There really wasn't that much information. And, you know, and then little by little, I mean, I started dancing in the 70s. And then little by little, we didn't even have the internet. And then we had nothing. But I grew up in New York, so I was lucky, you know, I could go to Rashid's Records and listen to records, and, you know, they would play the record for you before you bought it. And they would play you little pieces of the record to make sure, because it's a pig and a poke. And I didn't understand most of the music. You know, there are things that I can dance to now and listen to now and enjoy now that I could not enjoy or understand or dance to previously. You know, from going to the music retreat, I learned so much, really learned so much. And from, you know, going to the Middle East. And when I went to the Middle East the first time in 2004, my goal was like, I want to see and feel it and smell what it smells like and see how the people walk down the street. And I went to Ahlan wa Sahlan, and most of the classes that I took were from women dancers that I had never even heard of before. You know, right. Arabic women dancers that I had never even heard of before. I took several classes from male dancers too, but you know, because it was very validating, because I could understand the choices that they made to the music, you know, and that what they did made sense to me. Is like, yes, that's, you know, that's something that I would have done. I understand this. I understand this. I understand this.
Yes, I agree with that. I've had very similar experiences. Absolutely. So you did teach writing, and you know, I feel like a lot of people will start to formulate some ideas about writing about the dance, or start thinking about they want to do a research project. What are some things that they should keep in mind when they're writing specifically about this art form?
About this art form is go to people of the culture. Talk to people of the culture, because and you know, and be picky about the people of the culture that you talk to, because certainly more than enough people have also sort of internalized Western structures, and you know, are working from Western structures. So dancers of the culture, and even Western dancers who have spent a lot of time learning from, promoting, and expressing the cultural dance. Because, you know, my metaphor is, oh, you want to learn tea ceremony? Why wouldn't you go to somebody Japanese who is, you know, well versed in tea ceremony to learn how to do that? Do you, you know, why not start there? When I started to learn tango, my friend and I started to learn tango at one point, and the advice we got was go to an Argentine teacher. And my friend Valada said recently, you're visiting someone else's house.
Yeah.
Are you really going to go in there and tell them how to wash the dishes? You watch them. How did they wash the dishes? And then if you want to help out by washing the dishes, you wash it the way they wash it.
That's it. I could not agree more. Do you have any plans for the future, or any upcoming works, or are you currently working on anything?
I am right now, I am kind of building, as I mentioned in the book, you know, I got very interested in somatic experiencing, and I've been gone through that training, and you know, I have my certificate. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner. So I've been putting a lot of energy into like really understanding that and being good at that, and developing kind of that arm of things, partly just because it's changed my life, and it is something that I feel that we as artists are carrying around so much baggage, so much baggage, just like all, you know, all of these hurts that result in perfectionism and self-doubt and imposter syndrome and all of this stuff that, you know, as you start to clear those things out, self-doubt and self-loathing. I mean, I did not like myself very much. Self-loathing, all of those things just start to like dissipate, and you just feel better. And you feel better about yourself, and you get to feel better about what you do. You know, I wrote one of the 90 days things I wrote a long time ago. It was like, it's okay to suck. And man, did I get pushback. Oh, no. You know, it's like, okay, all right. But it is, you know, most of the things don't always have to be perfect. If is it a piano? If you're building a piano, okay, that's going to be around for 100 years or more, and you really want everything to be just right. But you know, not too many things are pianos.
That's right.
It just has to be like, it's, you know, the perfect is the enemy of the good. It just has to be good enough. Get it out the door. And you know, I'm a recovering perfectionist like everybody else, but I just have a lot more tolerance, capacity for things. Like writing the book just made me so, I used to be like, that's a typo. But writing the book is like, it's a typo. Who cares? Being a writing teacher really helped to cure me of concern about surface errors, because it's one of the things that you learn as a teacher. It's like surface errors, you know, you could fix those later, but you know, the voice is what's important. Even more important is having something to say. If you have something to say, that's what is, you know, that's the most important thing. And it's like in the dance, the feeling is the most important thing. That you can like be with the music and enjoy it is so much more vital than you can make a perfect circle with your chest.
That is such a deep golden nugget right there. Because yeah, not only do people react when you say things like, "Oh, it doesn't have to be perfect," you know, because of all this stuff that we've you know been told all of our lives in so many
Oh my
different
God.
formats and so many different genres, even before you get to
Smash the
dance.
patriarchy. Yeah.
Absolutely, 10,000%. Um, but yeah, the surface stuff, and I'm so fascinated that you wrote the book and it actually changed the way that you think about the creative process too.
Mm.
That is so not only deep and poignant, but that resonates really deeply with me as an author. And I would encourage anybody that is overwhelmed with the idea of trying to put, you know, pen to paper or on their laptop, just making something, that it's an experience in and of itself.
Mm. The exercise that helped me with writing the most is something that I was we had as an assignment in college, and that was to free write. In college, our assignment was to free write for 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week. 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week. And you were not graded on quality. He didn't even read it. He counted it. And that alone is the single most useful writing thing ever, because you had to let go of, I don't know what to say, this is stupid, all the voices in your head, and just because you have to really let the words come out on the paper. And it's like with dance, when you improvise, you have to like, that stuff has to go, and you just have to let the moves come out of your body. And in so many of the arts, you know, if you go to the Upright Citizens Brigade in New York, a comedy school, group improv classes is what they had. And there's a big sign in that lobby that says, "Don't think."
Yeah.
Thinking is the enemy. And if you just write, you will have surprising things come out on the page. And it's like, oh, and that's what I meant about, like, I would write, it's like, is that true? because it wasn't something that I had thought up. It was something that appeared. So free writing is hands down, and the Artist's Way is really big into free writing, and there's a lot of Writing Down the Bones is another lovely book about free writing. And then Anne Lamott's book, Bird by Bird, is a lovely, lovely book about writing. It's like you only have to write what fits in this much space, 1-inch picture frame. It's all you have to do right now. It's very like being in the present moment with your work and not thinking about what you're going to say next or what you said before or what move you're going to do next or what move you did before and how much you hate that move and why did you do that. But being in the present moment is what the creative process is all about.
Yes. This is why I do these interviews. This is it. If people want to contact you or they have more questions, where can they contact you? Where can they find you?
My website is aliathabit.com. It's nice, and you can write to me at aliathabit.com. And you asked me what I'm looking forward to, and looking forward to all of these things kind of that I've been doing. Sort of, I'm waiting, something's coming and it's going to come out, and I really want to do like some retreat kinds of things, like go somewhere and have 5 days or a week or something like that. That I think that's coming. It's not here yet, but I think it's coming.
Okay, because a lot of people can be packed in like 20 minutes. That would be so exciting. So yes, keep us posted. And if you do want to contact Alia, go to her website or email her at her email address. And I just want to thank you so, so much. I think this will be absolutely invaluable information for ages to come, and just these valuable conversations about the creative process. This is wonderful. Thank you.
We have to have them. Oh my God, it's my pleasure. And I want to read your book too. I didn't even realize I'm completely out of it most of the time. I would love to read your book. So you will have, what's your book? Tell me the title of your book.
My book is Racks to Riches, and it's kind of in a similar fashion to yours, not reaching so far back in time, but things that my students kept coming up to me and asking me about the dance and how to be a professional.
Nice.
And these kind of moral decisions and ethical decisions you sometimes have to make for yourself, which is why, like, it's almost like this is the full timeline story, and then mine was a little bit more practical and a little bit more of a guide, but I think all roads go to the same points here in belly
Yes.
dance, especially.
Yes. Yeah, and it's hard even to be a professional belly dancer. It's like, is there venues left anymore? You have to like dance in Chinese restaurants and hookah bars and
Yeah.
weird places, and you don't have that cultural audience that you used to have. So it's a very challenging, and the dance is still being taught that way. Like your main goal is that you're going to be a performer.
Yes, that's that's a whole nother conversation that, yeah, it's something to tackle with. And I think these texts and reading other people's experiences also give students something to go to their teachers with, and, just invaluable resources for how has it done, where are we going, what approach are we taking, and to put those words together again of what questions to even ask.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe we could just dance for fun.
Who knew? Well, we could keep talking for a million years, clearly. So thank you so, so much. And again, this will be up on fanoosmagazine.com. It was an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
And for me as well. Thank you, Ariana. Ah.